All right, this is going to be very quick, I think, because we have our last subclass for the Arissa World book for the Sorcerer. We're going to need a better name at some point than Elf Touched, but the essential story behind what this is in Arissa, the elves have come from another plane. They came there because the great enemy, some dark, evil, anti-elven force, was consuming their homeworld, and so the Elf Touched are those sorcerers who have gained their magical power because one of the many powerful elf souls who stayed behind, basically their souls came to Arissa and needed to find a host, and your sorcerer is that host. So, as always, we have our basic write-up here that tells you that story, some guidelines on why you would want to be an elf-touched sorcerer over the other kinds of sorcerers, and then the stats you need, which is charisma, wisdom, dexterity, and constitution. So the only thing that's a little weird to most sorcerers is wisdom being somewhat important. So one of the things that I don't like about some of the new sorcerer subclasses is giving sorcerers a bunch of new spells. I like giving access to new spells for sorcerers that they can choose whether or not to take. And so that's why we just expand the sorcerer spell list here for when you take it at level 1 for a bunch of nature LV sounding things, with the capstone probably being legend lore and tree stride as your bonus 5th level spells that you can choose to learn or not learn. This list does become important later on. Also, you're going to get some things that make you feel a little more elvish. You learn nature, you learn animal handling, you gain proficiency in. You learn the elven language. If you didn't have the transracial from elves, you gain it. You can't count as an elf for purposes of magical items, and you can't be possessed because unfortunately or fortunately, you already are possessed. One of the nice things, up to your charisma mod per day, you can take a dexterity or wisdom saving throw as if you had proficiency. Again, that's storyline wise, what we're saying there is you're using your connection with this soul to, have it give you a little bit of guidance in a time of need. The big thing for this subclass, this was originally in our first draft your level 18 sorcerer ability. We've moved it up to level 6, A, so that it can grow with you, and B, because it feels better to get this earlier. This is the thing that makes it feel like there's a second entity inside your character and you can sort of tag it in and out as you need it. In specific, what this does is once per day and then twice per day at level 14, you can tag in the Elven Soul to take control, and that gives you a burst of hit points. If when you use it, you can also activate you can also create spell slots at the same time. It's also sort of an emergency heal. If you have sorcery points remaining and are knocked to 0 hit points, this can kick in immediately. The reason I said to remember those spell lists above is that whenever you have this active, you also act as though you know these spells for purposes of being a sorcerer. So this way you do get some access to these spells, but you can only have them all the time if you choose to use one of your sorcerer spell known on it. Again, it's just another standard. You get some extra spell damage, you have advantage on a bunch of skill checks, and you also have, especially once you get to sorcerer level 9 and above, where you get things like, and did I do this wrong? When you get some of your more potent spells, which we might change once we go back and look at it, and if I see if I may have accidentally used the wrong spell levels for things again. It gives you reasons to use this outside of combat if you want to speak with plants, pass without trace, but you didn't want to choose to learn it using one of your very valuable sorcerer spells now. At 14, you get another, basically it's a damage buff, right? You gain advantage on spell attack rolls related to the spell you cast, and you add your dex modifier to your spell damage. It combines with the charisma damage here, so I don't think it's going to give you more damage than more pure damage sorcerers, but we may end up removing one of these bonus modifiers to damage if after we look at it more and do some more work on it, it turns out we are shooting over the curve a little bit too much. Finally, level 18, the biggest thing you get here, friendly interactions with Fae and Fae-like creatures, you get advantage on. They recognize you as an ally, but the biggest thing is that up to your proficiency modifier per day, you basically Fae step like Eladrin did in 4th edition. You get to just sort of move wherever you want without provoking attacks of opportunity. You get some free verticality on your movements as well. And in addition, after you use your face step, whatever you want to call it, you gain advantage against saving throws against spells, and you resist all magic damage. Also, if you've got your Elven Soul in charge while you move through the Feywild, you gain some temporary hit points. So you're kind of a mid-range sorcerer here. You're not super tough and tanky because it's really hard to get a sorcerer that does that without having to sacrifice spell slots, but you're also not a pure blaster, so you're nice mid-range. You get to do some neat things. This should be the last of our first draft runs of the various Arissa subclasses, and so next, I guess, for the Arissa World Book is going to be taking all of this out of Beyond and templating it into the Google Doc. So there we are. I hope everyone enjoys, and thank you so much.